Hey, good morning everyone. So today we are going to be circumventing something a bit different, and it is different in quite a few different ways. First off, it plugs in. Second off, it's a sound effects mixer. So this thing is pretty crazy, and admittedly, I am not too knowledgeable on this. And the reason being is I can't find too many different things of this on YouTube. But essentially, what I have found is this does have a mic input, so you can feed audio through it, add sound effects to the audio, and edit the audio in a couple different ways. But there isn't too much that I can really find on this. So this is one of those things I'm going to have to really dig deep and delve into this. But really cool. You can go ahead and add a bunch of different things to it. So as you can hear, I'm going to turn this up a bit. As you can hear, we're adding in stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out all of this. So now it's completely blank slate. So if you wanted to add, maybe train sounds. So there's a bunch of different types of things that you can actually add in here. So it is a really cool little instrument, and I am going to be messing around with this a lot more and hopefully having it in quite a few videos. Now this is in a collaboration with Mickey Partlow, and I traded the Blue's Clues refrigerator toy for this one right here, and it was during a Christmas exchange, so it was a while ago. But he added some pretty cool bends to it. I'm going to go ahead and add some stuff in here. Let's go ahead and hit that. Oh, that was really loud. Sorry about that. So he's got some really cool bends already on this. But what we are going to go ahead and do is we're going to open this up and hopefully add some more bends. And I may actually mount them right here and then just replace these switches with different ones. We're really going to have to see what this is like when we get inside of it. But this is a different type of thing because... This is a different type of thing because it is plugged in, and with stuff that's plugged into the wall, you usually have to be careful. Now we're going to be good because this converter box actually drops the voltage before we ever even get to this. So we shouldn't get electrocuted or anything like that. But if you don't see this video, then just know I died doing what I love. But you would never know that because you won't see the video. Anyway, let's get to it. Alright, so this is what we're dealing with right here. So on a side note, I absolutely love older boards like this. I just think that they are so gorgeous how they used to do everything. Because you can see they are connected through there. They have this ribbon cable right here. And then just the board in general just looks easy to solder onto. It looks like an old Nest board. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then Mickey kind of kept the same style right here, which is also really cool to see. So where we're going to go with this is we're just going to go ahead and start exactly where he was and then see if we can find any more glitches around where he is instead of just going in and poking at this. And also I am going to go ahead and link his website down below. So definitely just give him a shout out. Just go check his website out. Really cool stuff. But for that, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so now that we have some stuff actually nailed down, as far as bends, we know we can add touch points. So I want to show you this. So some instruments will actually allow you, without touching anything else, they will allow you to add static into them. And the reason this is because your body naturally pulls in radio waves as you simply stand there. So radio waves are always going through your body. And then by adding this into the instrument, you can hear static through the instrument. And there are also specific instruments that, when touched on certain points, you can actually hear radio stations coming from inside of your body, which is weird to think about, but it actually does happen. So you would be able to touch this, and then you can hear radio stations because their frequencies are coming through your body. So we're going to see if we can go ahead and add that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of where exactly all these bends are, because we are adding new switches. And I'm going to end up going with toggle switches because I don't have switches to match these. Or if we do use these switches, we're going to add them in a different way, or just add them over top of another project enclosure, something of that sort. But I'm going to go ahead and take these switches out, but at first I'm going to take a picture to make sure I don't lose track of any of these bends that are currently on it. So we are going to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to add that static bend. Alright, now we have a bunch of this stuff added, and this is all stuff that comes directly from the ground. And most of this stuff Mickey had added, which is awesome, because this is all stuff that literally does not have to have any sound going through it, but the instrument can reproduce the sound at any given moment. So from here, we are going to go ahead and switch the color of wires just to keep them kind of separated a bit. And I'm going to change the auditory input for the instrument. And what that means is we are going to go ahead and play sounds through the instrument And then while those sounds are playing, we're going to go ahead and poke around inside the instrument and see if we can find any crazy stuff inside of it. So I'm going to start here just with the integrated circuit. So I'm not super convinced that that sound is responsible for this. Now let's go ahead and pull this back out. We're going to reset the instrument. We may have just got another bare wire sound coming from a different input. So let's go ahead and do that again. Okay. So it didn't reproduce at that time. But it is crashing the instrument, it appears, which isn't good. That's not what we're looking for. It's not lined up. There we go. Do something a bit different. It's not magnetic. Okay, so as you can see, this on the integrated circuit is making absolutely amazing sounds. As a circuit bender, these are what I want to hear. It doesn't seem like it's actually looping, it seems like it's glitching out. And then the instrument in response is also looping. Yeah, so you can see that is absolutely beautiful. And that is the result of touching these two things together on the integrated circuit right here. So before we use that, we are going to go ahead and mark these and put some wires on them. Alright, so as you can see, this isn't giving us the effect that we were getting, which tells me that I more than likely soldered onto the wrong thing. So we're going to go ahead and try that one more time. I'll pull this back out. I'm going to do the same thing. Turn this on. There's 80. Okay, yeah, so that's not working. So let's go ahead, pull this back out. Put that right back in. Turn it on. Okay. I'm going to touch around because I'm thinking this one, the blue one, is the wrong one. It may not be. For some reason this is not giving us the desired result that we wanted. This does happen sometimes. Okay, so that's correct, which is very odd because it seems like when the white wire touches it, so we may have a resistance issue. It may be too much resistance for it to actually glitch out like we wanted. In that case, we would just need to run the wire shorter. But I'm going to go ahead and try resoldering it and just see what happens. So as you can see, what was really going on and why it wasn't glitching out like we thought it wasn't because we had the wrong points or even our soldering for that matter. Now the soldering would help because what's going on here is internal resistance. So internal resistance is where you have resistance build up between here and here. So too much internal resistance can give you some varying results, but no matter what, you're going to have internal resistance. So if you ever see gold-plated wires, there's resistors, capacitors, there's gold-plated all kinds of things. The reason being is because gold actually has a lower resistance than copper. So the lower resistance will pretty much get rid of some of that internal resistance. So that's why you see some of that stuff. And that's kind of what we're dealing with right here is I have some copper wire and this is running out, building up too much internal resistance, and it was giving us some varying results instead of the glitches that we were actually expecting to see. So here, I'm going to go ahead and enter this. So you can now see that we shortened the wires, and we are getting the results that we are expecting to get. So we'll play it again. So just by shortening the wires, we've now done this. And the hope is that the switch isn't going to be too much resistance added onto this. So we will kind of have to play that by ear, but hopefully the switch will be good and it will go on there correctly. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and test is, since we know one of these is causing a glitch out inside of the instrument, we can go ahead and poke around with both of these wires and then see kind of what happens. Now we know this also is a touchy point for the instrument where it does crash, but if we have some resistance on it, it doesn't really work. So in this, I'm going to go ahead and make an exception for my usual resistor rule, and I'm going to go ahead and poke around bare wire and see what happens here. But we're just going to go with this white one first, hoping that that is the correct one that is causing the glitch out. What luck, first one. So it looks like the instrument did crash, but it is still giving us some cool stuff there. So let's go ahead and restart that. We'll run it again. So it crashes it, but it gives some really, really cool glitch outs. But we're going to look for the stable ones here. So I think this one over here was stable. If we can get to the play. So it's stable for a minute. Just gonna play around with the blue wire. So that looks like it just auto crashed it. So maybe the blue wire is not our main one. Okay, so that is still giving us some really cool glitches. And then it crashed. So what I'm actually going to do here is something that you guys have not seen me do before. And I am going to have to order something. So this is going to be a multi-day instrument for me. So you'll be seeing this video a bit late. But, well, I mean, for you it won't be late. For me, it's going to take a couple of days. But I'm going to go ahead and get run-out bolts. Now, run-out bolts are going to be explained a little bit better when I actually get them. But it's going to allow us to take alligator clips and then put all this stuff together. So essentially we are removing the circuit board, or at least we're adding ports outside of the instrument that allow us to directly touch the circuit board from the outside, if that makes any sense. And that's going to give us the option to mess with all of these glitches while it's outside. And then from there you can kind of map out everything and let everything do its thing. And yeah, I think it works a lot better, but I think this is going to be our best option in this case. So I am going to order that stuff on Amazon, and I will see you guys in a bit. Now we're going to go ahead and put the board back on here. So we're going to unplug this stuff real quick. And we're going to put the board back into this little slot right here. So that way we know where everything goes, and then we can start mounting things. So there we go. Just put that right there. We do want to take the tape off of here. Which would have probably been easier to have done outside of this. We feed the wires out, and there we go. Let's put the bolts back on. So now that we have the Videonics board set up, what we're looking at here is we're looking at the actual board, all of the interfaces, and then we just have our wires that cause the bends feeding out this way. Now ideally we want to feed these all through here and all through here, depending on how much space we actually need for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to pop these out right here so we can actually put in our wires and our bolts that we're going to be using for this. little difficult. There we go. All right, so now we have that space right there. Now I'm pretty content with this because our bolts, we're probably going to be able to fit about 2 of those inside of each one of those spaces. So we're pretty content with that. We put those right on the side there. Now we are going to obviously need to cover these up with something, and for that I'm going to be using a can, and then we're just going to be feeding these bolts through here. So let's go ahead and start running the wires. So I know I just said we were going to run the wires, but I thought it actually to be better to go ahead and clean this board down first and try to get some of this stuff up, and also maybe run the can down as well. That way we have it already in place and then we know what we're working with. So we're just going to scrub this down a bit. So now we're going to be adding switches to the bottom portions of this. Now, due to a mixture of me both having a shortage of single throw, single pole toggle switches, and these just going to be able to fit a lot more securely inside of these notches right here, I'm going to be using these rather larger switches, and we're going to be using them as single throw, single pole toggle switches. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be adding 5 different bins that are going to be just kind of out there. They're just going to be stuff that we can go to at any point in time just to kind of display some circuit bent functions on this. So I'm going to start with these guys right here, since they're just right here. So let's go ahead and just touch these and see if we can get anything from them. So that looks like it auto crashes the instrument, so we're not super worried about that one. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. We'll hit something again. So it looks like that may have crashed it too. So that was something. Okay, so that's super glitchy, so we're definitely going to be adding that one. So this is the orange and the blue, so let's run it out. Let's run it onto a switch. So the next glitch we're going to be adding to this is coming directly from this white wire right here. And it's going to this orange one. a couple different bends that we can do here. See if I can find this one. So that's a little bit chaotic. It just really makes the volume way higher. And then you can hear the bass kind of stressing out a bit. So that one's pretty fun. And then this one over here. So we're going to be adding those two. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we are going to be putting these bolts through here so we can actually have some touch points. Now this is going to be a really time-consuming part, and I went ahead and stripped all of these wires out just to save some time off of camera, or save some time on camera. But for this, I'm going to actually be drilling through here as opposed to drilling in the back. And the reason being is I want to keep most of these through all this. Now, there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could do it very neatly, and we can run these in rows. I typically find that if you run it in rows, it really looks a bit strange. So what I mean by that, unless you're very accurate in running in rows, it's going to look like you messed up in some way. So we are going to do this without really any accuracy whatsoever. We're just going to actually start drilling in here and then see how this all goes.